Hi, my name is Rutendo Nyamuda, and welcome to another incredible thought-provoking discussion right here on In My 20s. In my 20s. While you're here, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today's guest speaks openly and honestly about what it means to be a man. He discusses the emotions that men go through and also gives us a little insight to his opinion on Kanye West's latest album. So welcoming himself onto the In My 20s podcast and into the In My 20s family, here he is.
What's up, in my 20s? I'm Mdu Mahlangu, the Fresh Prince of the 1632, and I am an entrepreneur, a photographer, a dancer, and an all-round positive energy man.
Now, on every episode of the In My 20s podcast, my guests always come through with these incredible mind moments or gem moments, and this is just one of them.
Masculinity was never challenged. Only women are really challenging masculinity now. Even men as well. You know, men, we never challenged masculinity. From when you're growing up, a boy is supposed to act a certain way, must do certain things. A boy doesn't cry, don't be emotional, don't be a wuss, why are you expressing yourself so much? All these things is what you learn. That's what you were told how a man is supposed to behave. We are very aware of the repercussions of those things. You know, we are very aware of how a lot of men have dealt with so much emotional baggage growing up that they have never gotten a chance to express and they don't know how to express.
The In My 20s podcast is split up into 3 sections. In the first section, we get to hear a little bit more about Mdu's career journey. In the second section, we dive into today's discussion, which is all about being a man. And then finally, rounding up all 3 sections is a conversation on the all-consuming 20s journey. Let's get straight into it. You are a photographer, a dancer, an actor. Creativity seems like it's in your blood.
It's home.
So, it's home.
Yes.
So how did you get to where you are?
All right, cool. So, I mean, just to take it as far back as from just after high school, took a whole gap, you know, not by choice, but due to financial situations at home and just trying to get the finances together. But one thing I did though, I never let anything deter me. I'm a positive person. I'm an optimist. Generally, I'm just always optimistic about everything. I used that period to sort of figure myself out and figure out my life. What am I about? What am I into? What am I passionate about? You know? And that's when, at that point, I realized that I'm a creative. I've been dancing since high school.
What kind of dance?
Street dance, all dance.
Yes.
It was hip hop first, and then because I live in the township, you learn panzola, you learn butcher dance. You know, you need to be. You can't just. You need to be real with yourself. You know. So at first it was for the girls.
Yeah.
And then and then you develop that passion, and then you actually start loving it, and then before you know it, you actually see yourself like, man, I could actually see myself on a big stage one day and actually doing this for a living. I love this, you know?
Dance is essentially like an expression of how you are.
Yes.
How do you feel dance has impacted the way you communicate with someone?
Man, dance is my life, you know? Dance got me to the type of confidence I have. I mean, if you can perform in front of a crowd, let's say 1,000 people, for example, you know, because I also MC events and I MC brand activations, that confidence is already there. You know what I mean? So it makes you more fearless. And most of the time, man, I feel like it's always easier to relate with people when they've seen you dance. Yeah, because people think if you're a dancer, you're friendly. You know, this guy was dancing, was getting down, he was smiling.
That 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
You
7,
know what I
8.
mean?
You tell I'm not a dancer. What was that count?
Nobody counts. You shouldn't count out loud. Don't count
in your
out
head,
loud.
on the dance floor in the club, can you imagine?
1
and 2 and 3 and 4 to the window, to the wall, and up.
And then once the song just misses a beat, you are lost.
You're lost.
For that, you know? So it's always been a very nice form of being expressing myself and a beautiful way to meet people as well. You know what I mean? Because I'm also part of a dance academy. In Tembisa. It's called the Indigenous Dance Academy. It's been running for over 14 years now, you know. But the foundation is dance, but through dance, what can you do? You know? Because the whole point of being part of that academy, it tries to change the narrative of what a dancer is. You know? Because being a dancer from the township, I mean, I'm from Tembisa, you know, and just as I was telling you, just the trip from coming from Tembisa to coming here and just taking the taxis, you know, from the township to town, it's all an adventure, you know what I mean? But one thing sort of being part of an academy has taught us is that you don't have to change yourself so that you can, fit in. Anyway, I love standing out, honestly. I love coming into a place and people asking me, where are you from? And I can proudly say, I'm from Tembisa. One thing that has taught us, that is the whole brotherhood element of bringing supporting each other through dance, but at the same time knowing that we're not just dancing for the fun of it, we're not dancing for the hype. There's actually a bigger vision. And the only way we can fulfill our vision is through our passions. That's the whole passion element of it. And trying to stay authentic, not only to ourselves, but to the township as well. We really don't want to lose ourselves because it's where we come from. It's where we're from. It's where I still live in Tembisa, proudly. And being, when you're trying to solve problems from outside, it's a bit different, But when you talk about the social ills that happen in the different communities, when you hear people say, no, I'm from a community that's ridden with drugs, abuse, alcohol abuse, I still live within all those situations, You literally know someone you went to high school with who's on drugs, who their life is not together, who is not setting a positive example anymore, because all the good ones are leaving the township. Yes, we all aspire to leave, you know what I mean? But impact, though, because as people are left behind, also need to get that positive reinforcement from someone, Because a lot of the times, the dudes we looked up to when we were young, it was quite different, What we saw as great, as glamorous, these were actually guys who were criminals, who were drug dealers, who were doing bad things, but those things would be overlooked because they have money, because he has money, dresses a certain way. He's the it guy, man. He can't be all that bad. I mean, he's rich. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where we had to now learn, okay, no, it's actually quite deeper than that. You actually need to have a positive impact within the community because there's young people who are looking up to what you are doing.
So, Mdu, you've started a company called Ola Grootman.
Yeah.
What exactly is the company about?
I've always wanted to have a movement that sort of supports men, that sort of puts a positive perspective or outcome into being a man, And I've always wanted like a whole big brother type project to work on. So I can work on passion projects that focus on growing young men, grooming us as young men, because I feel like majority of young men in the township, I wish I had stats, but I don't think we have exact stats for this. But a lot of young men, you grow up without a father figure. It's either your father leaves somewhere in between, maybe your father passed away, whatever the case may be. But there is literally a lack of male role models generally in South Africa as a whole, maybe even in Africa as a whole, And it sort of created this negative stigma, man, about black men that, we make babies and we run away. It's like we can't commit. We don't know how to take care of our seeds. And now the problem is that because that is happening, we sort of have to figure it out for ourselves. We have to figure out what actually makes a man in ourselves, from the streets, from our friends. We've never been men before, but we're advising each other on how to be men, So it's one of those where I needed something. I wanted a movement. I wanted to have a company, but that will have a positive impact,
You've spoken about the positive narrative when it comes to men. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this is twofold. I feel like there is what we're seeing, and then there are the conversations that you guys are having as men. Which we're not privy to as women. Mm-hmm. So, but we're seeing the actions. If you look at the last couple of months, we've had Women's Month in August, which was followed by September that was focused on a lot of marches highlighting gender-based violence and the issues thereof in South Africa, which was
rough. It was a rough time. September was rough. We didn't enjoy September.
I mean, people were playing. People thought like August, oh, this is great. Women are great. Let's praise them. And then, but the realities are when it comes to statistics in South Africa, being beat up by your partners, being, harassed on the streets, the realities of being a female in South Africa are scary. Just because there was a period and a time where it was highlighted in the newspapers and in the news doesn't mean that was the only time it was happening. It happens on an everyday basis. What are your thoughts on it? And particularly, I mean, we had this discussion earlier about masculinity.
Yes.
And also how you observed social media when it came to men's responses. Mm-hmm. Because this is a conversation we haven't really had on the podcast thus far.
Since then.
To say, what was going through the minds of men?
It was very shameful, first and foremost, you know, because here's how I reacted. First day, there was the Uinene situation, you know, and you're seeing pictures on Twitter, and then instinctively, I think the sad part is that we already know how these things go, you know, and we've become so desensitized that you'd get men saying, I know it'll blow over in a week. I swear. Same thing with xenophobic attacks. And I live in the township, you know. So I saw the rough, gory violence that was happening within, you know. And even though this time around there was some sort of remorse where communities were fighting back as well, you know what I mean? And saying, okay, good, you guys can't do this because we've lived together so much and in such peace. And then all of a sudden you guys want to turn and just because it affects everyone, really. Imagine how volatile it is, because I have to have the conversation with my girlfriend now and say, okay, how do you feel about this? And we had a whole conversation, and it was becoming very heated because as a man, you need to accept that at that point in time, you need to take it. You know, you need to take the bullet. You need to acknowledge what's going on as well, you know, and understand how they're feeling so that you can also deal with the issue as well.
And not be so defensive.
And not be so defensive about it, you know. It did hurt. And on the first day, all I did was just read through social media. I didn't comment on anything. I retweeted, you know, just to show I'm part of the movement. But
why didn't you comment though? Because that's the other thing, is we saw so many women posting, reposting, time and time again. There was such silence. It was a deafening silence that men were not present.
Men were not present.
But they were posting about sports, but they couldn't post about gender-based violence issues.
I couldn't even post about anything on that day. I think also because, and also timing. One thing though, men, we do know is that we know that once women are outraged, they're outraged. Once a woman goes on a rampage, we've all had mothers. Okay, I think if you have an African mother, you know how rampage goes, you know. And once it happens, you need to let it happen. Let them express themselves. Let them lose their minds, you know. And then once that has calmed down, then let's have a discussion about it. You know, when your mother yells at you, you don't go there and try so. No, you need to wait for her to finish. And then once the situation is a bit calm and you know that she can now understand, because now there was a lot of anger, you know, and even if you were supporting the movement, anything you will say will be held against you, you know, as positive as it is. There's going to be backlash because women are angry. It's at that time. It wasn't our time yet to speak.
So when did the men speak?
I think we spoke like 2 days later or a day later.
But that's the other thing, is even when it comes to relationships, time and time again, you have the woman saying, this is an issue, and the guy is just sitting there. That doesn't help.
And I think also because at the end of the day, you know, Twitter, as much as we become Twitter soldiers, you know what I mean? I can speak in solidarity and still leave the room and go beat up my girlfriend, you know? All the people we found out about, you know how everybody was shocked when names were being dropped, when people were being put out there.
Did you know anyone whose name was mentioned?
I knew a couple of people.
And what did you do?
I knew a couple of people I went to high school with, and it was scary. It was very scary for me as well when I saw that. And I didn't even know how to react. Like, where do you even start? You know, one place I knew that I wanted to start was people like men who are younger than me, you know. I started thinking about my younger cousins, my little brothers, the young boys that live down my street, who are still going to go through this journey of having to become a man, who are going to have to go through the situation of how to deal with your anger and how to deal with consent and how abuse is a thing. What forms of abuse are there out there? It's educating. And I even saw some people also creating sort of programs and sharing content online about consent. How do we teach young boys consent? How do we make them understand that?
How do you then, from your movement, what is the foundation of changing this narrative? Because it has to start from men.
We need to unlearn the concept of masculinity and what it stands for. We sort of need to sort of unlearn what's always been there, seen as being masculine, because the concept of masculinity from what it was back then to what it is now, you can see that there has to be a difference. Okay. It has to evolve. It has to change one way or another, because the alpha male, the alpha male image, it's as much as a lot of men would aspire to be alpha males, but at what price? At whose expense?
100%.
At whose expense are we saying, I want to be an alpha male, I want to be respected? How am I going to earn that respect? Am I going to use how do I put this? With great power comes great responsibility, and for the fact that as much as physically men would see themselves as more powerful, but when we think about it intellectually and emotionally, women are stronger. Men emotionally, that's a very touchy territory to go to, and in turn we sort of don't know how to deal with emotions, whatever type of emotion, whether it's happiness, it's anger, it's sadness. More especially, we don't even know how to deal with sadness.
What does former masculinity look like that men were aspiring to be?
It was never challenged. Masculinity was never challenged. Only women are really challenging masculinity now. Even men as well. Men, we never challenged masculinity. From when you're growing up, a boy is supposed to act a certain way, must do certain things. A boy doesn't cry. You don't play with girls. Don't be emotional. Don't be a wuss. Why are you expressing yourself so much? All these things is what you learn. That's what you were told how a man is supposed to behave, But then we are very aware of the repercussions of those things. We are very aware of how a lot of men have dealt with so much emotional baggage growing up that they have never gotten a chance to express, and they don't know how to express, which ends up you find a way to suppress them instead of dealing with your emotions. We're very good at suppressing emotion, but we don't know how to deal with emotion. If something hurts you, you convince yourself like, what, it's whatever, it's life, I'll be good. You don't cry about it, you don't speak to anyone about it. And then I think it all builds up, at some point it comes out in different forms, It doesn't just come out where you become violent towards women, It could be even the way you treat other people around you, how you treat yourself as well, It has like a longer lasting effect, Last week I cried for the first time in years. And it wasn't cry. I choked. And guess what? Oh my gosh. I was so embarrassed, but I told my girlfriend about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can now telling the whole world about it.
But didn't you feel better?
I did. I think it was only for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
I was watching on Netflix Hustle and Flow.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it.
Yes, you should check it out. Yeah, this particular episode is the finale. Yeah. Right? In the finale, there's this guy called Flawless something. In the finale, he did a song which spoke about his pregnant wife and his kids. Yeah. And it was so genuine. It was so real. Yeah. And then there was a scene that just showed his family. And they're all in tears. And I think because as a man, I resonated with what he was saying. I was listening to the lyrics and I'm like, damn, this is beautifully written. And then the way he was just expressing himself about how he wants to take care of his family and how he wants to be the man that his daughters want him to be and what he aspires for his daughters. And he's just reassuring them that, guys, I'll get there. And then I choked. It was scary. It was scary for me because I've never had to deal with that in a very long time, in a very way. It felt refreshing though afterwards, you know. But I'm like, dude, am I crying? I don't know. I'm a man and I do not do myself crying, you know. So that's why it's hard to cry around other people because we don't know how to react. I know.
Wow.
I've heard women tell me that they look at themselves in the mirror when they cry, just to see how they look when they cry. I don't have.
Well, I go through the motions. I'm like, let's cry. Let's drink the wine and let's get into it.
When you drink the wine, you're just trying to deal with it and convince yourself otherwise, you know. But I think it's one of those things where you need to let yourself go through a period of grief because we don't know how to go through grief. And I saw this recently when how the whole Kanye West thing, he dropped the gospel album, and I just was going through his archives and I was like, but now Kanye's been crying for help. You know, you could just see when his mother died. That's when Kanye started jumping on when he did the whole Beyonce at the Best video of all time. Kanye didn't deal with his grief. I think if we really look at his career journey after his mother died, you know, even the type of music he started making was very deep, dark. His behavior was very, you know, like he was expressing himself. He was saying that, yo, I need help, you know. But we didn't acknowledge it and be like, no, Kanye is just crazy. He's losing his mind, you know. But there's never anyone who's saying, dude, like, what's wrong, dog, you know. And even so, it's hard to express ourselves because I'm not going to say, dude, I need to cry, you know.
Sure.
I'm not going to talk to you to the point where I start shedding a tear. And it's a rare occurrence.
Sure, yeah.
It's a rare occurrence.
I never thought about that, actually. I'm not going to lie. I've been enjoying Kanye West's album, but I never thought about the psyche behind
the whole
it.
exactly because I feel like he's come full circle. Honestly, I think I expected something like that from Kanye, you know, because I've been a fan since high school. I'm one of those fans who grew up from his first album, and Hawaii type of vibe, you know.
Yeah.
So and then when you actually watch it and you watch his interviews, there was a point where he sounded angry in all his interviews, and people made him sound like he's crazy, you know. But when you think about it, you understand the frustration he's going through.
What he was carrying.
Yes.
And as an artist, how you articulate that.
Exactly.
100%.
And this was him dealing with these emotions and dealing with it. And it wasn't pretty. Him dealing with it wasn't pretty. It made him look like a crazy man. But here he is today. He's got a wife and kids, and who knew he'd actually get married, get kids. He's got his life together. He's got the Kanye West Sunday services with the choir. That's a next level maturity. Yeah. That's like next level maturity there. You know what I mean?
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer. So it just shows you that we need to go through these situations.
Your story is so interesting. There have been so many mind moments on this podcast.
True.
So many perspectives where I didn't think about that. I didn't think about men in that capacity. I didn't think about the emotional side of the things that you guys carry as men. Never thought about it. Why? Because all of my perspectives come from a very dominating female perspective as well. How would you summarize your 20s journey thus far?
Okay. So, man, honestly, my 20s have been awesome, I feel, you know. There was a lot of learning. And I think that my biggest takeout from my 20s was when, let's say my early 20s, I was 23, from 21 to 24, let's just put it that way. It was a point where I had to let go of the concept of finding yourself, you know, and I adopted the concept of creating yourself. You know, hence even being a creative entrepreneur as well. I think that's what led me to that. You know, don't find yourself, create yourself, you know, because when I took the gap year, even though it was for financial reasons, but when I took that gap year, it helped me put a lot of perspective in my life, a lot of things into perspective. I figured out what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to learn, what I'm not willing to learn.
But have you ever experienced the quarter life crisis? What was your crisis, and then how did you overcome that crisis?
My parents divorced when I was 21, you know, and this is coming from having a father in your life for so long, all my life, and me and my father were very close because I'm the first of two boys. It's me and my younger brother, who is an awesome. My brother's a force. My brother's all types of awesome, And he's like my best friend, And when that happened, that was a switch now from boy to man, because now that there's no father in the house, the mother takes the role of the father and the mother. But now, because I'm the eldest son, you're a deputy dad now.
Sure.
A deputy husband, you're a deputy dad, And you saw with me, because I was older at the time, and I think this affected me more because when that situation was going on, it was a point where I'm trying to shield it from my little brother. I'm trying to protect my little brother from the negativity behind it, because I knew it wasn't affecting me positively, especially when it comes to my emotions. It was emotionally very difficult to bear and deal with, and I thought, I don't want my little brother to go through that. You know what I mean? So you try to shield him from what's going on, and to the point where he grew and he started understanding, and I felt he sort of transitioned into understanding it the older he became and the older we got, because all we did was, as we grew, we just became closer and closer and closer, So that transition of now having to stand on your own 2 feet after having a dad who's been supporting the family all our lives, and that was a transition for my mother as well, coming from being married. She married young, and then for so long until that happens, and now we're just on our own, So it was a lot of learning happening,
Okay.
And I had to give myself leeway as well to make mistakes and learn. But at the same time, there's a whole family to support, There's now having to take charge and be like, yo, dude, you're being reminded that a man is supposed to provide. A man is supposed to make sure that the family is good, And you learn it as you go. Hence, you start also adopting mentors. You start surrounding yourself with the type of men you want to be like, There's no perfect man. Probably takes around 4 or 5 of us, and then you pick and choose certain things, and you put them together, you find one perfect man. But until then, you need to get different energies from different people and you take the most parts that you aspire to be like, and you put them together to sort of create the man you aspire to be like, because you've never probably seen it, especially if you've never had a father figure in your life, you sort of look for that guidance somewhere else, and you want it from someone you feel is to you as like a superhero.
Sure. Mdu, you've shared a lot of wisdom with us today. You've shared a lot of advice. You've shared a lot of your story. You've shared many perspectives. But I want to know, what final piece of advice would you want to leave with people in their 20s?
I think the one piece of advice is let's besides understanding each other, but let men and women adopt the positivities from each other. With me as a man, one thing I love about being a dude, and I've noticed with men, is brotherhood. Brotherhood is a very deep concept on its own, because with men, it's easy for us to support each other as men for some reason. This is why you can find us as men, we can collect ourselves and do something senseless, but not as planned out as like girls' book clubs and their girly dinners but
we mainly just gather to drink wine. Gossip about men.
But also being able to be in solidarity about certain things, Like, notice how many movements are men orientated. You know what I mean? When you think about movement, let's talk street culture, for example. When you think about, there was guys called Boys and Bucks, who are pushing a whole movement together as a collective of dudes, even though separately they knew they had their own thing going. But it was just a brotherhood as a sense of protection, having a circle of men that you can rely on, because as much as we sort of need women in our life, we need men in our lives as well. We need other men in our lives to help put things into perspective, because there's more relatability, and there's certain things that happen in a brotherhood that keep us together. And if more women could be able to adopt the very same concept of brotherhood, but put it into sisterhood. One thing I'd like men to take out of sisterhood is how to express ourselves. You see that whole drinking wine and talking about men concept? That is beautiful. You know what I mean? Trust.
You're like, good on you.
Oh my gosh, really? You know?
Really.
So it's one of those ways. Let's get together as guys. Let's drink and let's express ourselves. You know, be like, yo, dude, like this week I've been an emotional wreck. You know, I've been feeling sad. I've been feeling crappy, bro. Like I really want to cry, dog. You know, cry it out. What's your problem? You know, let's talk about it. Let's share more. You know what I mean? But at the same time, as men, we like sharing ways in which to improve each other. You know, we actually do want to all improve and understand each other and grow, because we don't like what's happening. You know, it's not that we ignore it completely. We acknowledge, you know, like men are not doing very well. You don't want to be that man. You don't want to further perpetuate that. You don't want to further add on to the stigma that's already happening and that's already putting us in that situation, you know? So you always try find a way to improve everything. Self-awareness is key, as well as let's share brotherhood and sisterhood. You know what I mean? Those we can learn so much from each other.
Oh, my mind moment, my shookness, anything you can think of. I am feeling all the emotions from this episode. Mdu, I honestly want to say thank you so much for coming onto today's episode and being so open and so honest and so vulnerable, really. There are a lot of things that you highlighted that I never thought of. I never thought about male perspectives of things. I've always seen things from a female perspective, and it's very interesting and very enlightening to hear a guy speak so honestly and openly about emotions and how men deal with their own emotions. But I am very excited for the journey that you're on, and very, very excited that you've put a lot of energy and effort into having these conversations with men. To everybody else, I really hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. I hope it was just as eye-opening for you as it was for me. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the In My 20s podcast. And don't forget to share your comments and thoughts with us below. Otherwise, we will catch you same time, same place, right here on In My 20s. In my 20s. In my 20s, how old are you? My birthday is coming up soon, and I'm turning another age, but I'm still gonna be in my 20s. In my 20s. Everybody, in my 20s. Back row, in my 20s. Choir, in my 20s. Altos, in my 20s. Drummers, in my 20s. In my 20s. Okay, bye.